In 1947, the serene town of Maine is jolted by a shocking murder. The main suspect is a local banker named Andy Dufresne. Despite his strong claims of innocence, the court finds him guilty and hands down 2 consecutive life sentences. Andy is sent to Shawshank Prison, a notorious facility known for breaking even the toughest men. Meanwhile, Red, a convicted murderer, faces the parole board after spending 20 years in Shawshank. Despite showing genuine reform, his parole request is denied. Disappointed, Red returns to his routine, smuggling contraband items for fellow inmates in exchange for money. When a new group of prisoners arrives, Red and his friends bet on who will first crumble under the pressure of prison life. Red places his bet on Andy, who appears calm but is deeply troubled. However, it is not Andy, but an overweight inmate who breaks down and cries on his first night. His cries attract Captain Hadley, a cruel guard who enjoys brutalizing prisoners. Hadley viciously beats the unfortunate man for hours. The next morning, it's revealed that the man died in the infirmary from his injuries, as the prison doctor was absent. This shocks Andy, and he tries to learn the man's name, but everyone tells him to stay out of it. A month later, Andy approaches Red. Having heard about his ability to smuggle items, he requests a rock hammer to indulge in his hobby of collecting and sculpting rocks. Red suspects he might use it to plan an escape, but Andy dismisses the idea with a laugh. Red agrees to the order, but warns Andy about the sisters, led by Boggs, who prey on other prisoners. It's soon clear that Boggs is infatuated with Andy. During his initial nights in prison, Andy spends his time working in the laundry or fending off Boggs and the sisters. Despite these challenges, he finds comfort in his friendship with Red, sharing hopes and dreams. When a job to tar the prison roof is announced, Red arranges for Andy and their friends to get the task. One day, Andy overhears Hadley complaining about taxes on an inheritance. Using his banking expertise, he advises Hadley to gift the money to his wife to avoid taxes and offers to help with the paperwork in exchange for cold beers for his inmates. Initially angry, Hadley is impressed by Andy's intelligence and agrees. Over time, Andy builds good relations in prison, gaining confidence. He begins reading and expanding his knowledge. Later, he asks Red for a poster of Rita Hayworth. Though puzzled, Red agrees without questioning. Later, Andy encounters the sisters again, who attempt another assault but are deterred by his defiance. He threatens them, saying he isn't afraid to die, and warns them not to test him. The sisters, shocked by his bravery, decide to back off. However, they beat him brutally, landing him in the infirmary for a month. Boggs is put in solitary confinement, and upon release, he is beaten by Hadley and his men. The beating Boggs endures is so brutal that he is left permanently handicapped and is transferred to a prison hospital. His gang members lose interest in Andy and leave him alone. Once Andy is released from the infirmary, Red and the other inmates present him with a collection of sculptable rocks and a large poster of Rita Hayworth. Soon, Warden Samuel Norton learns about Andy's talents and arranges a surprise cell inspection to meet him. He finds Andy reading the Bible and they chat about their favorite verses as the guards search the cell for contraband. Finding nothing illegal, Norton encourages Andy to continue reading the Bible, remarking that salvation lies within its pages. Later, Andy is assigned to work in the prison library under the supervision of an aging inmate, Brooks Halton. In exchange for his financial advice, Andy helps the prison guards with their income tax returns, making his presence valuable. Inspired by Andy's initiative, Norton suggests he write weekly letters to the Maine State Senate requesting funds to expand the library, hoping to provide other inmates with more learning opportunities. Over time, Andy becomes so well regarded that even guards from other prisons seek his help when they visit Shawshank for inter-prison baseball tournaments. He also becomes a trusted advisor to Norton. One day, Brooks has a breakdown and takes another inmate hostage, threatening his life. It is then revealed that Brooks, after spending 50 years in Shawshank, is about to be released. Faced with the prospect of freedom, he is overwhelmed by fear and uncertainty, convinced he cannot adjust to life outside the prison. In a desperate attempt to hold on to the only life he's known, Brooks acts out. Andy steps in and calms him down, reminding him that there is a world waiting for him beyond Shawshank's walls. Later, Andy discusses the incident with Red, who comments that Brooks has become institutionalized. After 5 decades in prison, Brooks is essentially conditioned to remain a prisoner and cannot adapt to the outside world. Red notes that prison walls are peculiar. At first, they are hated, but over time, one becomes accustomed to them, eventually depending on them. In the following scene, Brooks is reluctantly paroled despite wanting to stay in prison. As he leaves, he is awestruck by the tall buildings and bustling crowds, feeling lost in the drastically different environment. With no family, friends, or place to call home, and lacking a sense of purpose, Brooks finds himself clinging to his old prison routine and memories of Shawshank. He takes a job at a local supermarket but struggles to keep pace with the demands and behaviors of the outside world. As time passes, Brooks' depression deepens, leaving him hopeless about his future. Ultimately, unable to bear his emotions, Brooks takes his own life, leaving behind a message. Brooks was here, carved into a wooden beam. 6 challenging years later, Andy's persistence in writing letters to the state legislature bears fruit. The prison receives $200 to improve the library, along with a collection of worn books and phonograph records. Among these, Andy finds a copy of Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro. Eager to share this musical gem with his fellow prisoners, Andy concocts a daring plan. While working in the warden's office, he seizes the chance to lock the guard in the bathroom and plays the record over the prison's loudspeaker system. As the opera's melodies waft through the prison's stagnant air, an incredible transformation occurs. Even the toughest inmates are captivated by the music's beauty. The guards themselves can't help but smile at the moving performance. Unfortunately, Andy's rebellious act is noticed, and he is sentenced to 2 weeks in solitary confinement. Despite the punishment, he clings to his belief that hope is essential for survival, and refuses to let Shawshank's harshness break him. Later, Red faces another parole hearing after 30 years in prison, but once again he's denied. To lift his spirits, Andy gifts him a harmonica, and Red reciprocates with a large Marilyn Monroe poster to mark Andy's decade in prison. After the Mozart incident, the state allocates $500 to Andy for expanding the library. He uses the modest budget wisely, partnering with book clubs and charities to create the finest prison library in Maine, naming it after the late Brooks. With the enhanced library, Andy begins tutoring inmates aiming to earn their high school diplomas, giving them a chance at decent jobs upon release. Meanwhile, the warden exploits Andy's financial acumen for personal gain, using inmates as cheap labor for public projects and winning bids by undercutting the competition. To conceal his illicit profits, Norton has Andy set up multiple bank accounts under the name of a fictitious person, Randall Stevens, who exists only on paper. Andy, with his vast system knowledge, crafts this imaginary identity complete with a birth certificate, social security number, and driver's license. The plan is foolproof. If investigated, the authorities would chase a man who doesn't exist. Fast forward to 1965, a young man named Tommy is sentenced to 2 years at Shawshank for breaking and entering. Charismatic and lively, Tommy has been in and out of jail since age 13. He quickly bonds with Andy and Red. One day, seeking to earn his high school equivalency diploma, Tommy asks Andy for help and Andy agrees. After months of effort, Tommy takes the exam, but disheartened by his performance, throws his answer sheet away. Andy retrieves it and submits it to the education board. In the following scene, Red confronts Tommy, admonishing him for being reckless and reminding him of Andy's dedication to helping him. Realizing his mistake, Tommy apologizes and reveals shocking news. While at another prison, he shared a cell with a man who confessed to murdering a golfer and his lover, boasting about framing an innocent banker. Andy is stunned, realizing the banker is himself. He approaches the warden, requesting a new trial with Tommy as a witness. However, fearing the loss of his easy income, the corrupt warden denies Andy's request and punishes him with a month in solitary confinement. During this period, Tommy earns his high school diploma. Sadly, a few days later, Hadley escorts him out of the prison and executes him to prevent him from assisting Andy in gaining freedom. The warden visits Andy in solitary confinement to inform him of Tommy's death, falsely claiming that Tommy was shot while attempting to escape. Andy, suspecting the truth, refuses to continue laundering money for Norton. In response, the warden threatens severe repercussions, including closing the library if Andy stops working for him. Upon his release from solitary, Andy confides in Red about his past, revealing the story of his beloved late wife. He talks about how his career and ambitions drove her away, and despite not being the one who pulled the trigger, he still feels accountable for her death. Burdened by guilt and yearning, Andy shares his ultimate dream with Red, to escape to Zihuatanejo, a small beach town in Mexico, where he hopes to live a peaceful life. He invites Red to join him there someday. Andy also tells Red about a hidden item in Buxton, Maine, which he wants Red to retrieve once he's free. As time goes on, Andy resumes his illicit activities for Norton, causing Red to worry. His concerns grow when he learns that Andy has requested a 6-foot rope from another inmate. Red fears the worst, suspecting that Andy might be contemplating suicide. The following day, Andy fails to respond during the morning roll call, revealing his absence from the cell. It's soon uncovered that he had dug a tunnel using a rock hammer hidden behind a poster. A flashback shows Andy concealing the tunnel dirt in his pockets, discreetly emptying it into the courtyard during his morning walks. The night before, Andy packed Norton's documents and clothing into a plastic bag, securing it to himself with the rope. As Norton and others struggle to comprehend the escape, Andy visits all of Norton's banks, impersonating Randall Stevens, to withdraw all the funds. He also sends evidence of Norton's crimes to the National Daily. Soon, Shawshank Prison is engulfed in chaos as police and media arrive. Hadley is promptly arrested for Tommy's murder, and other corrupt officials are detained as well. The evidence Andy provided to the National Daily is damning, leading to the unraveling of the corruption orchestrated by Norton and his associates. Before the police can apprehend him, Norton takes his own life to avoid public disgrace. Ultimately, justice prevails, and Andy's story becomes a symbol of hope and resilience in the face of injustice. Sometime later, Red receives an anonymous postcard from Fort Hancock, his heart pounding with anticipation as he reads it. It's a brief note from Andy telling him that he finally reached his dream destination, Zihuatanejo. Red experiences a whirlwind of emotions: happiness for Andy's newfound freedom and success, but also sadness at the thought of not having his friend around. He wonders how Andy is doing, whether he's happy, and if he still reflects on his time at Shawshank. The scene shifts to Red's parole hearing in 1967. This time he doesn't try to impress the board. Instead, he candidly tells them that rehabilitated is just a fabricated term to justify their jobs. He sincerely expresses remorse for his past actions, acknowledging that he must carry that burden for the rest of his life. Finally, he asks the board to stop wasting his time and let him be. To his surprise, Red's parole is granted. He is then assigned to the same room where Brooks ended his life and starts working at the same supermarket. Like Brooks, he sometimes contemplates committing a crime to return to prison, but he always remembers the promise he made to Andy. Eventually, Red visits Buxton and finds the stone wall where Andy left something hidden. Inside, there's a small box containing a significant amount of cash and a letter with instructions to join Andy in Zihuatanejo. In the letter, Andy expresses excitement about seeing Red again and mentions needing his help for a new project. Red finally understands the power of hope and optimism. Before leaving, he carves a message on the wooden beam that reads, "Brooks was here, so was Red." Despite breaking his parole, Red experiences a sense of liberation as he crosses the border at Fort Hancock, leaving behind the burdens of his past. He looks forward to reuniting with Andy and starting a new journey, knowing that his friend has given him hope and the courage to pursue his dreams. The movie concludes with the two friends joyfully reuniting on the Pacific Coast beach, bringing the story to a heartwarming close.